So I was born to a Muslim family, grew up in Iran, was there for quite a big chunk of my life. And then I'm actually from a tribe called the Qashqai tribe. It's a very like ethnic, ancient tribe that is like mix of Turks, Arabs, Iranians, different kind of ethnicities. Yeah, so when I was growing up, I grew up in a very Islamic family. My dad was training to become an imam. He was very much involved in Islam, so was my extended family. So I grew up in that kind of family. At the age of like 6 or 7, I was being sent to early morning prayers, attended mosque every single day because of my dad. And then as I grew up, well, one year my dad decided that it is time to leave for various different reasons. So we escaped Iran and it took us 3 weeks to come here, obviously illegal routes and everything. And yeah, we got here. And so this is actually a very extended story. I'm going to miss a lot of it. But my mum, when she was 17, obviously she went to an Islamic school. She had a friend who was Armenian Christian, who was a legal Christian. And she was persecuted in class. She was marked down in exams in class. And yeah, so when my mum was friends with her, one day she had a dream of going into a church and lighting a candle. All these years later, we land in Glasgow. We end up in Glasgow. We get a hostel, temporary accommodation. We wake up Sunday morning, exhausted, tired, and the first place we walk into is a church. We didn't know it was a church. We didn't speak English. No English. It was hi, hello, thank you. We walk into the building, and the first thing my mum sees is this church, and she starts crying. And we're like, what's up? Turns out it was the same church she'd seen in a dream all these years back when she had this Armenian friend. So time goes by, and actually not too long after, she gets baptized and becomes a Christian. And we speed forward to about 6 or 7 years later. My dad became a Christian through the means of grace, through the grace that people showed him. My sister became a Christian at a Christian camp, which was disguised as a youth camp. She became a Christian there through prayer and the Holy Spirit essentially landing in her heart. I still resisted. I was not hearing my parents or my sister. I thought they'd just lost the plot and didn't know what they were doing. So years skip forward and it goes to my GCSEs. I'm doing my GCSEs, and obviously GCSEs finished. I signed up to a basketball camp, went on the camp. In the camp, I got injured so badly that I ended up going to A&E, and my knee was inflamed quite a lot because of the injury, and we didn't actually know what kind of injury it was. Did an X-ray, there was no issues. They did a blood test, and they said, we need to amputate your leg. So that really hit me, it struck me. I've never been hit that hard personally on an individual level. So yeah, I'm sat there and I'm just crying my eyes out. My mum comes to me, she's like, I know you don't believe in Jesus, but can I pray in Jesus' name? I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to do. Allah wasn't doing anything for me. I turned to Jesus and I let my mum pray. And the doctor comes back and he's like, we need to do a second blood test. Now, when he went and done the second blood test and he came back, I will never forget the scene. I'm sat down, 5, 6 doctors come in holding different pieces of paper, trying to work out what's happened. Turns out the infection had disappeared. There was no longer need of an amputation. But me, a 16, 17-year-old Arab man, I was so ignorant and so arrogant and so prideful that I didn't want to accept that Islam is false. So I continued my way, went and did A-levels. I actually went to the best sixth form for A-levels in the country. And there I got hit spiritually quite a bit, because most of the people in the school were atheists. It was quite a battle trying to stand against the atheists. I can say 99% of the students were atheists. And actually, things were going well. I was went to, obviously, standard Middle Eastern, study engineering. And come A-levels, 2 weeks before it, my best friend commits suicide in school. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, because it happened during school. There was no sense in which it was ever going to happen. I could not see it happening. And yeah, he committed suicide, and that really hit me. It really struck me. Ended up not doing as well in my A-levels, and ended up going through clearing. And yeah, and then at uni, I started doing a bit more research into Christianity and other religions, other truths. And that's when things started opening up to me. But because I went to such a uni that was close to London, I had a lot of Muslims in it. I was very influenced by the Muslims and actually started going to the mosque again, very much influenced by them. And yeah, years skip forward, we get to about start of third year, middle of third year, nearly finishing my degree. I'm reading the Bible. I went to church a few times because I wanted to know what the church is like. And I remember going into church for the first time by myself and sitting there because I was just curious. And I heard the pastor said, now it's time of prayer. Now this guy went up, who wasn't an elder, he was nothing, he was just a member of the church. He went up and he was praying for the Muslims who were dying due to a natural disaster in like Bangladesh or somewhere. And I remember hearing that and thinking, my Muslim friends, my Muslim imam would never ever pray for anyone who's not a Muslim. Why are these guys praying for Muslims? And it started hitting me. So I started reading the Bible, started reading apologetics books. Can We Really Trust the Gospels by Dr. Peter Williams was the first one I read, really hit me. Dominion by Tom Holland really hit me. He's obviously an atheist. And then come end of third year, I'm more and more convinced Christianity has to be the truth, but I'm not quite there. My mom kept telling me, get baptized. That's one way you show you're committed. But I wasn't sure. So come end of third year, I do my last exam and call my parents because I wanted to go home and then come back, home to rest and then come back to celebrate with my friends. I called my parents. Turns out my mum had had an asthma attack the night before and she was in A&E where she'd been discharged. So I obviously get the train home. Exam is finished. I've got my degree. Now, I go home. My mum had obviously been in A&E. Stay with her one night. She's fine. Second night, she has a second asthma attack. Ends up in A&E again. They don't discharge her this time. Keep her in the hospital. And then, she was kept in the... Oh, thanks, man. And then, so she has and then when she's in the hospital, second night in the hospital, she has a third asthma attack. This time, she goes to a last stage of a coma. At which point, she was in such a bad state that my dad told me, I don't want you to come to the hospital because I don't want you guys to see your mum like this. It was me and my sister, that is. So I, being stupid and thinking I can handle this, I make food for my dad, go to the hospital, and I saw through a set of double doors and through another set of doors, my mum laying in a room. So I go open the door, and there was my mum in a massive black room. She was lying there in the middle. Her body was purple and pink. She was cold as a body can be. I just stood over her, and in my head, the only thing I could think of is, I wish you knew that I've accepted Christianity, and I wish you could have seen my baptism. Now, obviously, I hadn't told anyone I wanted to get baptized. It was something I was approaching. Now, the doctors that day, the reason my dad wasn't in the hospital that day was because he was in a meeting with the doctors about pulling the plug and giving up on my mum, because she was in the last stage of a coma. Usually they give up after 2 or 3 days. This was the third day. That night, in the middle of the night, my mum miraculously wakes up and the anesthetic had to wear off because she'd taken in so much anesthetic. After it wore off, the first thing she said was, I want to speak to my son. So I go in and she sees me. The first thing she says is, Ash, when you had stood over me in the hospital, bear in mind, no one knew I saw my mum. She said, when you stood over me in my room, what did you think you regretted? And in my head, no one could read my thoughts. No one knew I was in that room. How could she know this? I told her, how did you know? She said, I could see you and I could hear your thoughts. She was like, Ash, God has given you a second chance. Go get baptized. So I go home to email my parents' pastor, be like, I want to get baptized. But weirdly and miraculously, he had emailed me that morning saying, Ash, have you ever thought about baptism? So all comes together. 6 weeks later, I was baptized and I've been a Christian since. This was 3.5 years ago and still going strong. God bless.